Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tim, and we are going to talk about Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 2, Episode 9. It's called Home Again. Full spoilers for the episode as always. They go back in time, Timmy.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, getting those rights back to reference Evil Dead 3 really paid off this season, because it became the crux of the last couple of episodes, because they go back to the 80s right before Ash goes to the cabin. And that was a lot of fun, actually. It's a nice thing that's already built into the canon that doesn't feel
Yeah.
cheap, because they have, it was the third movie. And I love how Ash just goes, "Oh yeah, I went back to the medieval times. I can totally do that. You're right."
Yeah.
But no, it was good fun. I do wish they spent more time in the town with all the 80s people.
Yeah, that could have been fun because there's like a few scenes that were pretty funny and I thought there was going to be more of a like more almost like a Back to the Future 2 kind of thing where like it'd be them like kind of running around trying to avoid their former selves or something, which could have been fun, but what they ended up doing was also really good.
I think I kind of considered that as well, but I think the reason why that didn't happen is because I don't think this show quite has the budget to do young versions of, like, Bruce and the other actors, and
Yeah.
like Westworld can do it. Westworld does digital young Anthony Hopkins, and it looks quite good because they
Yeah.
have like endless amounts of money because it's HBO. This isn't the same thing, so I think that's why we didn't get that. It wouldn't surprise me if maybe we see like just the car pull up at the end of the next episode,
Yeah.
as if they're just
Something like
arriving. Yeah, just a little touch like that. That said, though, it was built into the movie that there was this couple that were there and were like messing with the book first, like, because all those recordings you hear in the first movie. So, like, as much as they don't run into the main characters from the movie, it does actually reference stuff and like explores a
Yeah.
part of the first movie that we didn't really get to see before.
That's true. Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. I like how Ash has no consideration for messing with the timeline, because he immediately gives a drink to someone who's about to say their family has a history of alcohol abuse. So
Well, what I thought was and I'll have to go back and kind of look at them both, but as they're going back in time, the car is like barreling down the street and they almost hit a homeless guy. And I think that homeless guy is supposed to be the guy that he gives a drink to in the past.
ah,
Like he
that'd be very
basically
good.
caused his
Actually,
downfall.
even you said there might be a Back to the Future thing. I actually thought the fact that they were driving as they were going back through time down that street was very it was very
Oh, that's true,
reminiscent
yeah.
of the street that they actually drive the car down at the end of Back to the
Yeah.
Future. Even the fact that, I mean, there wasn't a homeless man at the wall in Back to the Future, but the idea that they're about to hit a wall, but then they go through the portal, and there was a homeless man further up the street in Back to the Future, because a lot of it reminded me of that.
Yeah. I thought that was really fun. There was, for some reason, this line really made me laugh when or when they, go back in time and then they're just kind of running down the street and there's a crossing guard and Ash just yells, "Out of the way, safety boy." Like something about that just like cracked me up.
The line that cracked me up actually is going back to the guy he gives a drink to. Is after he gives him the drink, he's like, "Oh, one little sip, your life will be the exact same." Which, to be fair, if that is the homeless guy in present day, then he was right. He was going to be a drunk bum anyway. So
That's true.
so maybe Ash knows more than I do. I don't know. But it would have been funnier if we seen him in present day and he was like just like a normal guy. But when they go back to the future,
Yeah.
no pun intended, in the next episode, then he's the bum. Then we see that he's completely, and like Ash has completely ruined his life by handing him the bottle at that time. But
And of course, this is all in order to try to stop him from reading the book, so none of this stuff ever happens, and Pablo never dies.
although he's not thinking this through. I have some issues with Ash's plan. Not from an entertainment point of view. I'm enjoying everything that's going on, but his plan's like, oh, then Pablo will never die. Yeah, but he'll also never meet you, and
Yeah.
like the entire timeline will change drastically.
It's
You'll never meet any of these people.
it's a very Ash plan. Like it's just very big, broad strokes. Like not really thinking about the finer details.
Nah, he's really not. So that's his plan. So they go back to the cabin. Kelly and Ruby get sort of separated. Oh, and Ash leaves Pablo a fantastic note, just in case he wakes up in
That was
the car
funny,
trunk, if they succeed. But yeah, so they get separated, and a tree almost eats them. Which, by the way, nice callback to the original movie again.
Yeah.
Trees coming to life. Oh, this one has an eye, and they get stabbed it. And actually, that was one of the things that made me a little bit crazy. The other one was, so Ash goes in the cabin, and he steps in the nail,
Steps in the nail.
which is in the first movie, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not just misremembering that. That was a thing in the movie. And
Also, it was in Army of Darkness as well, I believe, when he's in that like windmill. He
oh yeah,
steps on it.
yeah, but I'm thinking it's the exact same nail, like
Yeah.
in the
Oh,
floor
yeah,
from the first
yeah.
movie. Yeah, yeah. But so he steps in that, and it starts like the evil starts spreading up his leg, and I'm like, no, I can't cut off his leg as well. But even he has that thought he's about to do it, and
Well,
decides not to.
I actually thought I thought that was pretty funny. And did you read that Booster Gold series from a little while back? There was like
No.
no, okay.
You
Do
don't
you
have to
mind
be
if I
specific. You don't have to be specific because I've not read any Booster
Yeah.
Gold series. So
Okay. Do you mind if I spoil one issue though?
yeah,
For you?
knock yourself out.
All right. So
So spoilers
uh,
for an issue of Booster Gold from a few
I
years
believe,
ago.
I want to say it was issue maybe 5 or 6, but basically, Booster Gold tries to go back in time to save Barbara Gordon from getting shot by the Joker in the Killing Joke. And every time he goes back, like something happens to like mess him up from, like achieving his goal.
It's destiny
Like,
intervening to stop him. Yeah.
yeah.
Kind of
But like basically, like Booster Gold keeps getting hurt or like killing himself or something, and he finds out that he can't change time. And I kind of thought they were gonna do something like this, and I thought it was just gonna end up like he would have to cut off like all his limbs like at various points throughout the episode, which I thought would have been really funny.
Doesn't leave as much for season 3 though, does it?
No.
If Ash is just a stump, hobbling around.
Well, he has like a chainsaw for one hand, like a shotgun for the other, like sword or axe or something.
Yeah,
for
I
feet.
feel it's easy to just sort of mask the hand with the robot hand that he's got.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be very difficult to mask all the other limbs if he's not got legs. So yeah, I don't see them doing that. But this whole thing actually made me very. See when he decides to treat it like a snake bite and starts like
Yeah.
drinking it, that was making
Yeah.
me feel proper ill. Like that was really. I think it was the barfing sound effects and just the black goo coming out of his mouth. All of it was just making me feel really disgusting.
It was pretty gross.
Yeah.
But it did lead to maybe one of my favorite sequences of the episode, though,
The
where
little monster thing that comes out.
yeah, just that and him fighting with himself is like very classic, Evil Dead.
Oh
like
yeah. Oh yeah, him pouring because he even does that in one of the movies, doesn't he? Is that the third one? I can't remember.
when he's what?
Where he pours the boiling water
Oh
in his
yeah,
mouth.
that's an Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
Again, when he's in that windmill, because he has like the little ashes are or he has like the eye on his shoulder is popping up, so he drinks hot tea, and just like the sound effects and stuff are really good in that scene.
And he
that-
pours just pure cinnamon powder into his mouth, which it's funny actually. I once took a spoonful of hot chocolate powder just because I wanted to see what it tasted like. Just taking a spoonful, and it was disgusting because as soon as it goes in your mouth, it starts. It starts reacting to the saliva and
Yeah.
it starts doing what it's supposed to do, and it's really awful. I do not recommend it. So the thought of doing that with cinnamon is even like, oh no.
Yeah, I think I did that as a kid as well, or at least something similar. And yeah, it's a bad idea.
It's funny that the hot sauce is the least like
Yeah.
one that I find disgusting.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, but there you go.
But yeah, it creates like a little, I thought they were gonna go the Army of Darkness route and have like a little tiny Ash, but instead it's just kind of this weird deformed thing, which I liked.
Now, obviously, Kelly. I'll be curious to see where Kelly ends up at the end of the season in terms of her like alignment with Ash, because she's clearly taken Pablo's death the hardest, and is not particularly like she's starting to question like all of Ash's decisions and how he messes up and all that. Now, it may be something that just gets fixed when Ash saves the day, if he saves the day, that is, because he may not. Because he's Ash, but I'll be curious to see if that leads to her parting ways. Maybe season 3 starts with her doing her own thing, and she's a lone demon hunter,
Yeah, and that could be like a pretty like, I don't want to say standard, but like that, I could see that kind of storytelling
natural,
device.
so natural evolution.
Yeah,
Yeah,
be interesting to see. One episode left, right?
yeah, I've got one left of this season. Because we ended up skipping a week last week, which we didn't know until the day that it was supposed to air. We thought it was supposed to air last Sunday, and we were all ready to go, and then it's not on, and we don't know why. Because last year it went right through both Thanksgiving and Christmas without even pausing. It's like, no, and if Christmas doesn't stop it, then So I'm wondering if there was another reason other than it happened to be the weekend after Thanksgiving. Like maybe,
Like one possible idea I had was
in your life, yes.
uh, no, because I was thinking like last year it might have been kind of like an unknown quantity. Like they might have not known how the show was gonna go, so it's like we don't want to, take a break. Let's just barrel ahead because we don't want to possibly lose viewers.
It could actually be simpler than that. Maybe last year it was just a case of they said we're not taking a break, and then as a result their numbers were down because they didn't.
True.
So maybe it's just a case of cause and effect. Like because it happened last year and it did affect it this year.
Yeah.
Took a break. But it does mean we have another episode next week, so we get it for 1 week more than we would have. So, silver linings, I guess. Yeah. But, so the rest of the plot, though. So Ash eventually hears things and goes down into the basement, and I called what it was. It was the wife of the professor, who we heard about in the first movie. Henrietta, and she's chained up, and she tries to convince him, and we get a really funny sequence of Ash slapping an old woman because he thinks she's secretly a deadite. And of course, with this show, we're like, she may be, so I can't really, judge him too much. But the professor comes home and he's got like a young student with him that he's like, Ash like cracks a joke about how he's got a young bit in the side, and it might be that, but there's probably more nefarious, intentions at play here. And I like that it plays with the idea that maybe it was going to twist what we thought had happened with those two. Because in the movie, it's very clearly sort of like portrayed to us that they find the book and his wife becomes a deadite and he's trying to like fix it and he's trying to solve it and he's, horrified at what his wife's become.
Yeah.
And this episode plays with the idea that maybe it was going to twist it and it actually made him crazy and he chained up his wife and his wife was innocent. Mm-hmm. And it almost, at least gives us enough to maybe think that's possible. Now, of course, the resolution that it isn't and it's exactly what we thought it was. Obviously the professor's still a dick because he was trying to sacrifice this young girl to save his wife. So it's still evil, a bit of evilness there, don't get me wrong. But, the moment where Ash finally, like, unlocks the, Henrietta from the chains, and it's immediately after it says, and then it possessed my wife. It's like, oh no. Like, Ash's sold it so much.
Yeah. What's great is, like, I just kind of have, like, come to naturally, like, expect, like, the opposite of what Ash thinks.
Yeah.
So,
That's fair.
At first, when he's slapping Henrietta, I'm like, oh, maybe, like, I thought, like, oh, maybe she actually is normal, and then, like, he's going to do something that will cause her to become possessed or something like that. But then as soon as Ash is like, all right, going to free her, then that's the point where I'm like, all right, no, she is.
I completely agree with that, yes. Whatever Ash thinks, it's probably the opposite, yes.
Yeah, and then it like you said, it was just so well done because the professor's explaining all this stuff, and then it finally gets to that that one line as soon as she's free, and then the demon possessed my wife Henrietta, and then just the look on Ash's face was like, crap.
Yeah, and they had some fun with this one because she balloons up into this big sort of really fat version of herself, demonic, very goofy, very silly, and almost anything else I'd be annoyed by this, but in Evil Dead it works.
Plus, I was so happy that they brought Ted Raimi back to play her when she goes like full like puffy demon. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. I noticed that. I noticed it wasn't the same actress that was still in there. Yeah.
And I was because because I obviously like Ted Raimi played her in the original Evil Dead 2, and then once it kind of changed, I'm like, oh, I bet that's like Ted Raimi. But I was like all of that makeup and stuff, so I wasn't 100% sure. But then I was like in the credits, like, oh yes, it was.
That's pretty cool. It's a cool little thing. Obviously, there was a good tug of war in the middle of this as well, where Ash is trying to, because the professor got the young girl, the college student, in this bear trap, and Ash is trying to pry her, and then big fat demon version of Henrietta pulls on him, and he's like being tugged between because his hand's caught in the bear trap, and it was just one of these over the top goofy things. And we end on a pretty simple cliffhanger where the professor's like got out the basement and locked the cellar door. And they're trapped. Ash and the college student are trapped in there with Henrietta, and that's kind of where we leave off on. But no, it's a fun episode, and it was. I think most of the season really feels like it's all been two-parters. Not in name or anything like that, but it really feels like the last two in the cabin again, which is funny because season 1 also had the last two in the cabin, but this time we're in the 80s, so it's different.
was the title like Home Again or something like that?
Yeah, Home Again. Why, do you want to know what next week's is?
No, I was just I was just curious because I was wondering, if we go back to the first season to see if like what the title was for the episode when they
Oh,
went
right.
back to the cabin.
You want to know if it was Home?
Yeah, or something like
It
that.
it probably was. I'm going to check. I want to know now. I'm curious. No, it was not. It was not.
Okay.
I see what you did there, Tim, but it didn't work. Oh well, it was a good episode though. It was fun. I do. My only real regret is that I wished I'd spent maybe a bit more time in the town interacting with other 80s people. But I guess it was maybe a money saving thing that we can afford one scene where everything's dressed up to the 80s, and then
Yeah.
the rest is easy because it's in a cabin, so it's just dressing the college student in 80s clothes, and she has those
Yeah.
big 80s glasses kind of thing.
Yeah, that would have been fun. But yeah, I guess I can't do everything. The music was good in this episode too. Good '80s soundtrack.
Oh yeah, we had Journey and we had
Like right at the, it's kind of funny because the like you said, it ends on like a little bit of like a somewhat like serious note, but then as soon as the credits hit, they just start playing "Let's Get Physical." Did you notice when they were in the town what they had playing for the double feature at the movie theater?
I didn't know. What was it?
It was Poltergeist and Friday the 13th Part 3.
Interesting. Also, it's interesting that this movie confirms that the first film takes place in 1982. I mean, which might have already been confirmed in one of the other movies, I can't remember. But the first movie has such a weird release date where it was staggered. Like, some places list it as 1979, some places list it as 1980, some places list it as 81, and some places list it as 82. So it's interesting that they just went with it's the last one, right? That's the one we're counting. Yeah, that's this week's Ash vs Evil Dead. Let us know what you think of it in the comments below. We'll be back next week for the Season 2 finale. It's already been renewed for Season 3, so no worries about worrying about it coming back next year. So thank you very much, guys. Keep watching TV, and we'll see you next time.